We've got the concrete in here. It's all set up, at least enough to start my framing. So yeah, it's time to get started. Let me pass on some hard-learned wisdom. When you're pricing out your materials, buy them right then if the price is decent. These 2x6x10s shot up by $5 a piece in a 2-week period and went up in price again soon after I bought them. Working outside means that Pluto and Max, the dogs, are desperate to play fetch. So once I got them happy and out of the way, I turned to my pressure-treated 2x6x10s and started measuring them out for how they needed to be cut. Then I started laying out for where all of my studs are going to go, and you'll notice I did this one on the side. That's really important. It's going to allow me to get insulation into the corners of everything while also leaving room for me to connect my drywall or OSB, whatever I'm using, on the inside. I'm by no means a professional carpenter, and so if you see me doing anything wrong, or if you have any tips or tricks that you'd like to share or ideas on how this could be done better in the future, leave a comment down below. It'll really help me out if I ever do anything like this in the future. And I think it would also be great to just create a learning community where people that want to build a garage or a shed or some sort of workshop in the future can have as much information as possible about how they should proceed forward in their plans. You're going to see me using a number of different tools here, and as I do, just know I'll have all of these tools linked down below in the description. My dog Max wasn't exactly sure what to make of the nail gun, and we'll see a little bit more of his reaction later on. Hey, be sure to stick around to the end of this video where I'm going to be sharing my project totals up to this point to better help you decide if this is a project that you want to do for yourself. It's really important to try to keep everything square as you're nailing it together, and so that's why you'll see me using that speed square from time to time. Here is Max. He's really decided he does not like this thing. He's trying to attack it. He thinks it must be doing something evil to me. And so I had to kind of fend him off quite a few times. And oh, here's Pluto come to join us again. And now that I'm done, the dogs lose interest. And oh, there goes the camera. Thanks, guys. So right now I am framing out the top portion above the header on the whole garage door wall. Unfortunately, this wall could not be done in pieces because of the nature of the garage door. And that comes back to bite me in a little bit. You know, anyone can frame a door. Well, okay, maybe I shouldn't be if I'm this clumsy, but after fighting with the nail, well, I'm still fighting. After fighting with the nail gun and getting everything worked out and getting frustrated and throwing the extra nails away, I finally decided it was time to hoist this thing into position. It hadn't been too difficult so far, and this is about the moment that I realized this is going to be impossible on my own. So here I decided I've got a 1-ton chain hoist as well as some ratchet straps. Grabbed a couple of boards to put underneath the garage wall, and I narrowly avoided taking my head off there and started hoisting the thing up. Soon realized that things weren't quite going the way I wanted, so I tried... Oh, there goes the camera again. Wow. Good job. That's the problem. I've got it up on 2x6 blocks, and that's kind of holding it in place. Definitely running into some bowing issues. Pulling it, different sections wanting to peel apart. It wasn't really designed for this type of pulling. I don't know. I think there's going to be something that has to wait until I have more people. Not to be deterred by this setback, I decided to start building out the other sections of walls, which fortunately were small enough that I was able to continue to just stack them on top of each other, using each one as a template for the next one, and still managed to be able to do it even with that one wall laying there. I have a window in it. So what I'm starting off with is my long lengths, and I have made some room here. I'm gonna have 48 inches between that one and that one. And then here you can see I've marked my shorts for support. Hold that. Okay. So let's get this going. Getting to start work on this garage shop is a dream come true for me. So if you like what you're seeing and you'd like to continue to watch as this garage build unfolds, be sure to like and subscribe so that YouTube knows that you want to see more videos like this. I'm using some spacers to lift up my, it's not really a header beam, my below the window beam. I don't even know if I needed one below the window, but that's what I did. I needed to space it out because 2 of these 2x10s or 2x12s, I can't remember which one I used, they don't come to the same thickness as the 2x6s. And so I left the gap on the inside. And later on in another video, you'll see that I actually took some 2-inch rigid foam insulation, used that to insulate everything else. Let's see if I can lift this one. Look at that. This one was a workout, but managed to get it into position. You can see it's just a simple matter of getting that initial transition from the lifting motion to starting to push it, and you just walk it up. You watched my first video in this series. You saw that I hired out the pouring of the concrete, and I am very glad that I did. Not only did they do a great job, way better of a job than I think I would have been able to do on the concrete foundation, but it also ended up being perfectly square. So while I did check for square on all of these walls, what I actually found was as long as everything was even with the concrete slab, I had absolutely no issues keeping the building straight and square. After checking everything was plumb, I was able to nail the 2 sections of wall together, and it was eventually time to start drilling into the concrete and putting in my inserts around the perimeter every 4 feet. The next morning, I grabbed a few people from my family and had them get ready to start lifting this garage wall into place. I needed it out of the way so that I could do the finishing touches on everything going, and I wasn't exactly sure if we had enough people to make this all work, but we coordinated together. We started lifting everything up. I was really proud of my daughter especially and my wife that they were able to do this. This is not the type of thing that they prefer to do. We got it up most of the way, and then we started to notice that the bottom was slipping a little bit. And so you'll see in a second here, I send my daughter around to the other side to knock everything back into place, and she actually puts a little bit of a wedge, a stop there. Again, we're just aligning everything to the side of the foundation, and my daughter is handing me a support piece, which I'm going to nail into place to keep this side straight. And then I'll go to the other side and do the same thing. Now that everything was kind of standing up on its own, it was time for me to try to move my support pieces around to get everything plumb and straight again. And I put another nail in to fasten that and grabbed another just random fence board I had laying around, tacked it in from the other side. And here you'll see that I'm checking for plumb in both directions. With that out of the way, my son and I could grab some of the pre-finished sections of wall that I'd done the day before and carefully maneuver them into place to get everything completed and move on from this stage of the framing. Miraculously, as we were doing that, we somehow managed to not knock everything over and have to start over again. So I was really glad for that. Here's a neat little trick for you. Don't be afraid to use your woodworking clamps to pull everything straight against the foundation when you're setting your anchors into place. That's what I did with these pipe clamps, and it was excellent. Let me tell you a little bit about this gas-powered nailer that I've been using throughout this project. I was able to borrow it from my dad. It's the pass-load framing nailer. It uses a combination of a battery and gas canisters. Super portable, super effective. The link to it is down below. All right, here we go. The last part of getting the walls up for the framing. Now I'm just going to double up the top plates after that, and we'll start putting some sheathing on. Before we get up there, put up our trusses. Planning ahead to do the sheathing on this project was one of the main reasons I went ahead and purchased the Makita track saw and a couple of tracks to stick together. Made things so much faster, so much easier and more accurate throughout this whole project, and you'll see me using it on a regular basis. You definitely don't need a track saw to do this. You can just follow a line with a circular saw, use a straight edge or even a table saw if you've got enough room, but I really enjoyed using it. Here you'll see I am laying 8 inches of pressure-treated 3/8 plywood down as my starting point. That's just to make sure that I don't get any moisture seeping up and damaging anything. Eventually, once I got to the second level of OSB, I realized that I'd need some help getting into position. It was just a little bit awkward to lift it up, keep it where it needed to be, and to be able to nail it into place. Here's a helpful tip for sheathing above the garage door. I nailed a few offcuts along the bottom of the opening to use as supports. And with these in place, I was able to set up the sheathing at the perfect height while I nailed it in place. After I was done, it just took a couple strikes with my hammer, and that knocks them free, and then I could pull the nails. It would have been really helpful to have a second person while I was putting up this house wrap. I was able to do it myself. It was just very tiring on the arm, and I did end up having one occasion where the wind blew that top portion down and tore a couple staples out. Let me give you one big piece of advice. Be sure to go out and invest in a hammer-style stapler for this. I would not want to put this many staples in using a standard squeeze-style stapler. It's so much faster and easier using this type as well. Feel free, if you've got a smaller area to do, cut the whole roll of house wrap in half or down to the size that you need, and that's really going to save you a lot of time and effort, and it still works just fine. As promised, let's crunch the numbers so far. The lumber for framing cost me $1,723.28. Then the sheathing materials cost me another $1,419.39. Framing nails ran around $78. And then I should also mention I forgot to include the cost of getting architectural drawings during the permitting process, which cost me about $750. Then if we add in last video's cost, where I said I spent $8,557.25 Canadian, we get a grand total so far of